And then this, and this, and this, and this. Okay, let's get this party started.
Arabella.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Emmeline.
And here we are again, trying our hand at YouTube.
Hopefully.
So today we're gonna start off our new YouTube venture by recapping what we read in November. So I think you have more than me, so why don't you get started?
I'll start. My first book I read this month was Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson, the sequel to Dance of Thieves, which I gave 5 stars. My mom read
6.
It's a 6-star read. It's a 10-star read.
It's everything.
It's quality.
It's everything.
And more. We were kind of late on the train, and we haven't read Kiss of Deception, but my mom read Dance of Thieves last year and was like, you did read it this year.
Yeah, it was a sure.
Oh, wow. You got me to read that fast. But when I decided to read it, Vow of Thieves, I don't really want to talk about it in case you didn't read the first one, but it's a fantasy romance, enemies to lovers, the best enemies to lovers I've ever read. You don't even feel like you know that everything's going to end up okay. And I've never been so emotionally damaged, so.
And we do plan on reading the other series.
Yes.
Once we can get our hands on those UK covers. Because the US ones are not it.
Ugly.
I mean,
no offense,
yeah,
Mary.
they're just not it.
Yeah, they don't
UK did it better.
give what Dance of Thieves
Yeah.
gives.
And then we need to get the
And
Morgan
yes,
book that just came out.
today.
Oh, today?
So that was the first book I read this month.
Okay. The first book I finished this month, I actually started in October, but I didn't finish it until November. So I'm counting it for November. But it is The Last House on Needless Street. And this book, could not have come at more perfect timing because we just watched Split as a family, minus you. And as soon as I started this book, I was like, this is giving me Split vibes. And I don't know if I would have picked up on some of the things I picked up on in the book if I wouldn't have just watched Split. But it was completely fascinating to me. The whole time you're reading the book, you don't really know what's going on. You have guesses or hunches or I don't know, suspicions, I guess. But it all just really comes together at the end, and I don't feel like I really saw it coming. But I gave it 5 stars. It was amazing. And you need to read it soon.
Yeah, sure. Switching gears from my preview book, the second book I read this month was All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox, which I gave 3.5 stars. I read their first book, The Holiday Swap, last year, and I honestly liked it more as far as the pacing and the writing goes. I preferred the setting of All I Want for Christmas because it's set in Nashville, which we used to live near there.
Nashville
so I know
is our beloved.
All the famous locations they talk about, and it was
in the hotel.
In the Gaylord Hotel, the Opera Mills Mall, they play at the Ryman at the end. It was good.
What a vibe.
And All I Want for Christmas is about Sadie and Max, and they are hoping to kind of have their rise to fame on this singing competition. I can't remember what it's called. It's a really stupid name. I'm sorry, but it's very cheesy. But they get paired up as a duo, and the producers are like, oh my gosh, your chemistry was so great. You're permanently a duo on the show, and you need to act like it off stage or else we're kicking you from the show. So thus begins a fake dating situation, and the main guy has an adorable tiny dog. It's great.
I just realized I didn't even say what Last House on Needless Street was about. But I don't know that I can without giving something away because it's just so...
I don't think you need to.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if I say anything, it'll just ruin it. So just read the synopsis if you want to, but actually I would say do yourself a favor and go in blindly. Okay. The next book I read was Flora's Traveling Christmas Shop, which I received as an ARC from HarperCollins. So thank you. I'm sure you're totally watching. But it is about a girl named Flora who is obsessed with Christmas. She works at a Christmas store, but her boss is like really hateful to her. She kind of just has like bad luck in her life. Like she always has good intentions, but things just never seem to work out for her. And so she finds herself like thinking her life is going in one direction because she's working at a Christmas store. She has a boyfriend that she really likes. And then all of a sudden she gets fired from her job for trying to do something nice for a customer. Her boyfriend breaks up with her and she's like, why does my life just keep going wrong?
This is so typical.
Like, what am I doing?
I love it.
And her friend is like, Flora, you love Christmas. You should open your own Christmas store and it could be a traveling Christmas store. So she's like, you're right, I will. So she goes through like this process of like selling her beloved Christmas collection to raise money to buy this van. She moves to like this town. It's like where Santa supposedly lives, and these people, like, all they do is they just live in their van and they capitalize on Christmas. And so she does that, and then she meets this guy that's like the grumpy, grumpy manager of this like Christmas market that she's trying to sell stuff at, and then things happen, etc., etc. It was super cute. The vibes were immaculate for Christmas.
So Hallmark.
Yeah, it was a very, very Hallmark. I will say, like, the dialogue and the banter and like the jokes were way better than a Hallmark movie. So it was like a Hallmark movie plus like good banter and jokes.
The next book I read was not very Christmassy. It was Immortality, a love story by Dana Schwartz. And this is the sequel to Anatomy, a love story, which follows Hazel in the 1800s in Eden. I can never say it. Edinburgh. I can never say it right.
Edinburgh?
That's in Scotland.
Edinburgh?
Yeah, honey.
Oh. Are you sure?
I will look it up right now. She's from Scotland. She's got red hair too.
Oh, okay.
Eden. I don't know how you
It's
spell it.
B-U-R-G-H.
Capital of Scotland.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it kind of looks like London.
Okay, well, that looks like the tower, the Big Ben. Okay.
Anyways,
Scotland.
takes place in Scotland.
Yeah, we'll just say Scotland.
Hazel she comes from a very prestigious, wealthy family. Her mom really wants her to marry her cousin, which I know is normal then, but weirds me out. And she dreams of being a surgeon. So one day she disguises herself as a boy, goes to this class, eventually she gets caught. And there's a mystery. But the second book, we follow her after those events, and she's sentenced to prison for helping someone. And she thinks she's going to be hanged, and then the Prince Regent of England is like, come down, I need you to save Princess Charlotte, who had been sick with the Roman fever.
A Roman fever?
It's made up.
Oh, okay.
Because I know there was a fever then.
Yeah, like scarlet fever.
Yeah, and so I keep wanting to call it that, but she made up a different one for some reason. But then there's a mystery.
So it's like historical in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's mysteries that unravel. Princess Charlotte's illness isn't what it seems. She gets caught up in a secret society of immortal people. it's all very interesting, and the atmosphere is amazing. It has every genre you could ask for, but they're all just done so perfectly, and I gave that book 5 stars, I think. I can't remember, I didn't write it down.
Oh, my turn again?
Yeah.
Okay, back to me. Okay, so for some reason, I don't know what possessed me to pick this up, but we were going, my husband and I were going out of state, and so I was like, oh, what am I going to take to read on the plane? And I have not read any Friedrich Bachmann books, but I have 2, so I was like, well, I'll just take Beartown. So I started that, like, as soon as we got on the plane. I was really invested. I thought it was very interesting. So it's about, like, a very, very rural, kind of like backwoods town, where they have like nothing. I mean, it is super, super tiny, but like everyone is invested in hockey. Like it's like the only thing they have to look forward to in their life is like cheering for hockey, the teenage boys playing for hockey, like the businesses sponsoring the hockey team. Like it's just all revolves around hockey. And so it kind of follows like the points of view of the general manager of the hockey team, some of the boys. But basically what happens is there's like a lot of pressure on the current hockey teams because they're finally doing really good. And so they're thinking like they're going to make a name for this town, which is called Beartown. And then there's a crime that happens with the general manager's daughter, and no one believes her. And they kind of side with the boy that's like the star athlete of this hockey team. And so it just kind of shows how a lot of times in society, like sports and athletes kind of get excused for certain behaviors, and then the girls get not, or they're the ones that aren't believed or like taken care of. And so I thought the premise of the story was really good. I thought it was like an important topic to discuss. It was just a lot more heavy than I thought it was going to be. It also had like a lot of kind of vulgar language and talk, because it would like kind of talk about what the boys would talk about in the locker room, and I don't know, just some different things like that that I didn't really think was necessary or added to the story at all. So while I thought it was like good and well written, I didn't really enjoy it. So I gave it 3.5 stars. And I mean, I'll read more of his books, I think, because I did enjoy his writing, but I just didn't enjoy the story so much. So, yeah.
Okay, the next book I read was What Child Is This by Bonnie McBird. And
Which is a Sherlock Holmes.
It's a Sherlock Holmes adventure.
So it's a series. It's part of a series.
It's part of a series, but you don't have to read them in order. And we received this as an ARC, also from HarperCollins. And I had, I think, too high of expectations for this.
Because it was a Sherlock.
Yeah, and they definitely, I would say she kept the feeling of Sherlock alive, and just, like, it definitely felt like a Sherlock book. Like, his wit was there, Watson's was perfect, but I just didn't care about the mystery, and it was also kind of described as a Christmas book, and I just didn't get that, besides it was set during Christmas time.
Yeah, I think each book is, like, based off of a different Christmas carol.
It's interesting, but it followed 2 different mysteries. One about this boy that was kind of attacked by this man in town, and he was trying to steal the boy from his mother. So then they begin an investigation of like, whose kid is this actually? Is he adopted? Was he stolen? Like, what is the root of this? Then we follow another mystery about this adult man that has gone missing, and his father is like, my wife will not be happy at Christmas unless he's back home. Like, she's worried sick. So then they just kind of solve these mysteries, but like, he pawns off one of them on this girl that he like had hired at the police station. Like, it just felt all super disconnected. I didn't really see the point of the two mysteries because he wasn't even following one of them really until the very end. And he just, like, solved it at the end. So I gave that book 3 stars. I was just disappointed, but I did appreciate that they kept the spirit of Sherlock alive.
It's important.
Yeah.
Okay, the next book I read was A Wilderness of Stars. I got a digital arc of this from NetGalley, and A Wilderness of Stars is by Shay Earnshaw. I have read 2 other Shay Earnshaw books, The Wicked Deep, Winterwood, and then you've read A History of Wild Places. I would say A Wicked Deep is definitely my favorite. It's also kind of written in like a Oregon, it reminds me of like a port town because it talks a lot about like harbors and ships coming in and stuff like that. But A Wilderness of Stars is about a girl named Vega who grew up kind of isolated with her mom in this valley, and her mom was like, you can't ever leave here, it's too dangerous. And so her mom kind of like trained her up to be an astronomer and study the stars and kind of like keep that whole art sacred. And then like right at the beginning of the story, and this is in the synopsis so it's not a spoiler, her mom dies and she's like, I have to go like see the world and figure out what my mom was wanting me to do with my life, because she sees these like 2 stars appear in the sky that are like twin stars, and they're supposed to mean something kind of
tangled.
Yeah, like when these stars appear, like it's on, you have to go do something about it. So she kind of like talks her stepdad into taking her with him because he sells like this miracle cure tonic, which is not really a miracle cure at all. But anyways, she kind of like embarks on this journey to find these stars, and she's supposed to go find this man named the Architect. And so like she's on this quest to go find this man, but what she can't let people know, I guess, is she has like all these tattoos on her neck, like all down her spine, that are of stars and different like astrological things, because she is now, because her mom died, the last astronomer. So that makes her kind of like a hot commodity to the people in this land. And also the people in the land are all dying of this disease that there's no cure for, called consumption, where they just start like coughing uncontrollably and like, I don't know, it just like slowly kills them. So it's got like a lot of elements. So it's like fantasy, it's dystopian because the world is like suffering from this disease. It's like set in the Wild West kind of, though. It talks about Doc Holliday. It has like sci-fi elements sprinkled in. I don't know. It was just like all over the place, I felt like. And I really enjoy Shay Earnshaw's writing, so I was like, immediately, yes, I want to read this. But it just did not meet the standard of what I had for her based on her other books. So I give it 3 stars. I'm guessing based on the way it ended that it is going to be at least a duology, if not a series. I don't know if I would read the second one. Undecided.
That's unfortunate. The next book I read was An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Klassen, I believe is how you say her last name. And I gave this book 4 stars. We follow Richard Brockwell, who is kind of called back home to Ivy Hill from London during Christmas time. His mom is like, if you don't come home, I'm cutting you off from London. I'm taking all your money, and you'll have to move back home because they're very rich.
What
family.
time period would you say this is set in?
It's set in the 1800s. So Victorian.
Like Pride and Prejudice.
It is
era.
very Pride and Prejudice vibes. Richard reminds me of Mr. Darcy so much. So after his mom gives all the threats, he's like, fine, I'll do it. I want to stay in London. So what he doesn't expect is to stumble upon his childhood friend turned potential like girlfriend from the past. He had a relationship with her, he disappointed her, and she just never forgave him. And so he kind of deals with the guilt of that and tries to help her because her family is suffering. Her husband died.
Really?
And
I don't remember
she's living with her mom in a cottage near Abbey Hill, so he helps like rebuild the house and stuff, and just kind of tries to redeem himself and make himself not like his father. And so then his mom is also wanting him to like this girl, Arabella Audrey.
Sounds like such a snobby name.
My
name's Arabella Audrey.
She's nice. You're the one that wanted me to read this.
I know. It is a good book.
It was good. But he's like, no, she's weird. She was weird when she was a kid. And then he's like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, but I'm never getting married. Like, and she's just, no, I can't ever. And she thinks that too. She's like, I'm never getting married. I want to live alone. I want to make something of the world in the time I have. I'm not just going to get married. But then it's like enemies to lovers. She also reminds me of...
What's the main girl's name?
Arabella.
That's the main girl?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying that's the girl that his mom wants him to marry.
It is.
Oh. What's the name of the girl that lives in the cottage?
Now I can't remember. I read this like last week.
I
Oh
don't
my
remember
gosh,
either.
Mom. Why would I remember?
Well, you remember Arabella Audrey.
She was the main girl. Anyway. She reminds me of Elizabeth Bennet. He reminds me of Mr. Darcy.
Wait, who reminds you of Elizabeth Bennet?
Arabella.
Okay.
Arabella. However you say her name. I was a
So
little...
not the girl in the cottage?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't like her.
Okay, sorry.
It's like rivals to lovers, childhood friends to lovers, like pretty much all in
That's
one.
not how I remember this book going.
Can you stop
I'm sorry.
I'm just trying.
I'm so confused.
Maybe you need to reread this. I was just disappointed by the romance aspect. I thought it would be like a series. Like there's all this build up, and then everything that happens romance wise is in the epilogue. So that's why I gave it 4 stars, because I was just confused.
You need more.
I needed closure. That everything was okay. It did fine. So 4 stars.
But it is a series, but it's kind of like that's a
They're all
novella spin-off.
Well, they're all
kind of.
standalones.
They're all set in the
kinda.
same village.
They're set in the same village. They're set in Ivy Hill, but none of them has to do with Richard or Arabella. They're like more the people in the village, it seemed like, from when I read the synopsis, because I was like digging, like, is there a second one? What's going on? This seems like the wrong ending. But yeah, 4 stars.
The book I'm currently reading that I should finish by tomorrow is Christmas by the Book by Anne Marie Ryan. I saw this at the library after Christmas last year, and I was like, oh, that sounds cute. It's about a bookstore during Christmas. I'll add it to my Goodreads for later. So I went on like a spree of just putting all these books on hold at the library that were Christmassy, and I read like 2 of them, but it's fine. And this is one of them. It has really good reviews. It's rated 4.0909 stars on, why did I say 4.09 stars on Goodreads. But the cover is a little cringy, but we can look past that. But it's about a bookstore in a small village in England. This couple own the bookstore and they live like above it. And they're kind of like beloved by this whole village. It's the only bookstore around. They're like middle-aged. Their daughter is off kind of like living abroad, taking a gap year. So it's just the 2 of them. And the husband has had some health issues, so it's kind of been left up to the wife to keep the bookstore going, manage the books, etc. And by books, I mean like the accounts of the store. And she hasn't done a very good job, and so they're kind of like in a financial state of ruin, but she hasn't told her husband about it. And then like I don't know what they're called, like the bailiffs, I think is what they're called in the book. They come to her store and they're like, if you don't pay your taxes, we're gonna like take your shop basically. So she has to tell her husband, and obviously, I mean, he was upset with her because she didn't tell him, but they're like, okay, we're gonna save the bookstore. So they kind of like have to go through all of these different scenarios of how they're gonna do that. But in the midst of all of that, they kind of come up with the idea of what if we have a contest where we allow people to submit or nominate someone who could like use a book as a pick-me-up. So they have all these people enter this contest, and then they randomly select like, I don't know how many people, like 5 or so, to like just deliver books to their house for free, and they wrap them up. And so it kind of like talks about how these different books being gifted to these people impact these people's lives because they really needed it for different reasons. Like they're all going through different hardships, but it's just really cute. Yeah, I'm like seeing where the direction I think it's gonna go, but it's just like very wholesome, very Christmassy. Just like if you're looking for a cute little small town feel, like pubs, and they have like quiz nights at the pubs. It's just, I don't know, it's super cute. I really enjoy it. I think it'll at least be a 4.5 stars for me, I think.
My last book I'm also currently reading. I've been hoping to finish it for like the past 2 days, and it's not happening, but it's not because I don't like it. And that book is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Shoot. Which I'm predicting is going to be 5 stars. The only Alice Feeney book I've read is Daisy Darker, which I believe I gave 3 or 3.5 stars.
Buddy read that.
It was alright. It was okay. And this one,
I like this one a lot more.
The one-liners are so good. It's so creepy. It's multiple POV. And
so how would you say what it's about?
I'm getting there.
Okay. I don't even
I'm going
know
to give a very brief
explain.
synopsis because I think the less you know about thrillers, the better. So we follow Amelia and Adam, who have been married for a while. I don't remember how long. And they've just been drifting apart, like the longer and longer they're together. And they're taking a trip to this kind of remote Airbnb to try to save their marriage, essentially, in Scotland. And this weekend is like their last and final hope. And if they can't resolve anything here, they're done. And so there's a lot of secrets. Possibly someone's not going to make it out alive. They don't know what's going on, but are they lying? And the catch is Adam actually cannot recognize anyone's faces. I can't remember
It's called facial dysphoria.
They have a big lawnmower that they put in there. I don't remember it, but like he can't recognize his wife's face. He can't recognize his own face. So I'm like, is something gonna happen? Is he gonna like let someone do something? He thinks it's his wife. I don't even know what's happening, really. Like all my theories I know are probably gonna be wrong, but it's so good. It's set in the winter, surrounded by snow, so it's perfect for this time of year.
The cover is really pretty.
I was reading it before bed, and nothing creeps me out, but I was like super paranoid. It's just so weird. There's like this lady that lives nearby, and she's super weird. Yeah. Adam says she's a witch because she like has this white rabbit.
You can tell from the beginning, like the husband and the wife are both keeping secrets from each other, but you don't know like whose is worse. I feel like until the end.
I have no idea where this is gonna go. I'm scared, but I'm gonna go binge it as soon as I can and finish it up. So
and then we can talk about it.
Yeah,
because I already read it.
All the books I've read in November.
Which one was your favorite? Which one do you think will be your favorite when you're done with rock, paper, scissors?
I'd say Vow of Thieves. You can't not.
Yeah. That's like hands
It's-
down.
Probably my favorite series of all time because it's just like it's a YA fantasy book, but it doesn't feel YA. It's like just below
Yeah,
adult
the-
fantasy to where you can understand
Yeah,
everything.
The dialogue is good. It's
Every-
not
it's
cheesy.
perfect.
Nothing's cheesy about it. It's like just like you're not reading it and you're like, oh, I can tell this is young
I
adult.
just like it took me like a week to read the last book because I just didn't want to end. Like I was not reading on purpose. So yeah, what's yours? Lost House.
Yeah, I mean, I rated that one the best. So yeah, I guess I would say that one. I mean, as far as like the writing, yes, I would say that. Like the plot, just all the different surprises, the different like psychological elements that were a part of it. I thought it was the most creative for sure. Yeah, probably one of the most creative books I've ever read. So, and that's by Catriona Ward because I didn't say that earlier. I think that's how you say her name. Yeah. Anyways,
Okay, so those are all the books we read in November. We'll have linked to all our blog posts about the books to go into further detail in the description down below. And hopefully we'll see you next time and we don't forget about the YouTube channel.
it'll still be here.
Bye.
Whoop. 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 It's our family